Fall over.
Alright, so when you're doing your teapot, I would get a little over half or so. Think about the size you want and get a chunk of clay that's a little over half the size. So if I want a teapot this big, I'm going to get a piece of clay about this big, because you think about it, it's going to end up hollow and the walls are going to be taller than the original wall. Get it centered as normal, and we're going to go ahead and open it up. Flatten it out again to about the width that you want the piece to be. So if you want like a really tall skinny piece, you would bring it in closer in the middle. If you want a really wide kind of, chunky piece, you want to bring it out wider. So I'm going to make mine about medium width, and then you're going ahead and opening it up. And give yourself, again, about a ½ inch, between a quarter to ½ inch on the bottom. So you have room to trim it when you're done. And again, check it. So stop it when you do this. Don't keep it moving when you do the needle check. And just check it. So yeah, I have about a ¼ inch right there, so that's good. Then we're going to pull back on the walls. So I'm just gradually just kind of pulling back to create a nice flat base on the inside of the teapot. You can see it starts to push the walls up on the side. So now I have my base. This is a good time to finish it, because when we and smooth out the bottom, because when you pull up the walls, it's actually going to come up and then in a little bit. So if you don't do it now, you're not going to be able to get your hand in there later. So go ahead and finish it. You want to add a spiral or do any fancy stuff like that on the inside, now's the time. You don't want too many ridges, because then stuff can get stuck to the inside of the piece. So just from a functional aspect, just trying to get it nice and flat and even, so you don't have too much thick clay stuck down there. Alright. So now we're pulling up the walls. With this, it's especially important that you don't pull back towards you, because if you go out too wide, it's hard to cuff back in. And we need to cuff in the top to make a little lip to hold your lid. So make sure that you're pulling up and not out towards you. So again, however you choose to, how you like to raise your walls, up to you. I like to do the one knuckle, kind of supporting my left hand, and pull it up. Again, I'm going for a cylinder first before I add any kind of shape to it. I'm just gradually pulling it up. And you can see my clay got a little bit off center, that's why I have a little bit of wobble right now. But no biggie. And I'm going to keep the walls somewhat thick on the top, because again, I am going to be cuffing it in. You don't want to have a little bit of clay to work with to create a new lip later. I feel an air pocket. Where are you? It's just a chunk of clay. So bring it up, and then I'm going to start to go in a little bit. So now I'm going to soak up. You can see there's a lot of extra water in the bottom. So before I start to close it again, it'll be hard to get my hand in later. So I'm just going to soak up some of that extra. And I'm going to start to cuff it in. Get your hands nice and wet. And we're just lightly starting to kind of squeeze the top in. Now is the time to do any kind of shaping you want on the bottom while you can get your hand on the inside. So if you want it to bow out extra at the bottom, you would just start to kind of push it out. Get that roundness into it. I'm starting to cuff this in. Now I am going to use this handle with my piece. We do have a couple of these if anybody's interested. They're just bamboo handles. The bottom has wire, so you would just make 2 little loops of clay that then these bend around, and this can be your handle. So I have a little ways to go. So I'll keep cuffing it in. And then what I want to do is start to create a lip. So I have this thick clay that's pushing in right here. And I want to start to bring that straight up, again, so I have something for my lid to rest inside of, so it gets trapped inside of there. So once I have it cuffed in the way I want, then I'm going to start to pinch this little edge of clay. So this is where my lip is going to be. And I'm using this finger to make an indentation on the outside, and this finger to make it straight up and down on the inside. So I'm forcing the clay between those 2 fingers. Again, Again, I want it to be a little bit narrower than this, so I would even keep cuffing this in a little bit more. Alright, but to keep it short and sweet, I'll do all that later after you guys aren't sitting here. This is basically it, so then I go and finish off the edge. You did get off center, so it's a little bit uneven. But the main purpose is you want to have this little lip, so you have something for the lid to sit in. There are other ways that people have done it where this is flat across and then you just make the lip on the lid instead. That way it locks it into place. But you need something that holds the lid, because if it just goes sliding off, it's going to break the first time you pick it up. So it has some kind of edge that's going to lock your lid in, and then that's it for the teapot. You can go ahead and stop.